Then the next thing they know, they're just driving down the road to wherever they were going. And it was the first time he'd even mentioned it since it happened. But he mentioned it to me like 20 years later. And he said, I don't know why we didn't even talk about it. It was just something that, so, what's going on here? It's the phenomenon, I think, basically either imposing some type of cloud of, cloudiness over our fogginess over our minds, or maybe instructing us not to do that, not to discuss it openly, or putting it off till long after the event has occurred. Once again, it's not a trusted interlocutor by any stretch of the imagination. So let me give you an example. I mentioned this before on another podcast. I was visited once by a quote unquote messenger being, and these little hooded figures that came into my bedroom. This is probably not longer than 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And it was the only other appearance. And he came in and looking at each other, and make a long story short, he just disappears. I'm wide awake, not the least bit afraid. And my response wasn't, wake up my wife. You wouldn't believe what the hell just came into the bedroom again. It was, went to bed, put the covers up. Next morning, got up, and it was a messenger. And I found out my friend died. And that's what it was about, I'm sure. But I remember thinking, I better call up so-and-so, the head of this. He was the head of this. He was a doctor, head of this program that my wife and I were involved in, and still are, about people that have had these experiences. And he said, well, you should try to recontact. It was clearly a contact. You should go back and contact him. And I said, I'm not contacting that. I don't want to contact that. I don't want anything to do with that damn thing. I don't know what the hell it was. I don't want it in my life. I didn't want to open up any kind of pathway with that. And I know a lot of people tell me, these are invitations. You should be taking these. And I'm saying, well, easy for you to say. If I knew what the hell it was, if it introduced itself and say, hey, hi, how are you? My name is, I still would be skeptical, highly skeptical of it. But nevertheless, it doesn't give you that opportunity, does it? It just walls itself off. And most experiences are like that. It doesn't allow this back and forth. They go, well, it'll come back in 3 years, it'll pick you up, and you have those are contact experiences. But can you actually trust those experiences, that they are actually what they are? I'd be very doubtful that I in other words, I wouldn't bet a paycheck on it.